Okay, we're live, Gene.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to JJC Talks. This is our guest artist program in which we introduce and meet Black artists from around the Baltimore region. And we are the Joshua Johnson Council, an affiliate group of the Baltimore Museum of Art. We are one of the oldest groups affiliated with the museum that includes collectors, lovers of art, docents, and folks like you who are interested in Black diaspora art and artists. We're going into our 36th year, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to meet our wonderful guests tonight. Please put your questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll update you throughout the program. There will be a Q&A time at the end. If you would like more information about the Joshua Johnson Council, you'll find it on the BMA's website at artbma.org. And we hope that you will want to join us for more. I hope you like what you see. Sit back and enjoy. And now I'm turning you over to Dave Issa, who is our liaison from the museum.
Good evening, folks. My name is Dave Issa. I'm the manager of community engagement here at the BMA. This is JJC Talks, our COVID pivot, and we are now on our 8th public presentation since September 2020. We have been able to do this and able to just bring our work onto a virtual space, but this is the work that the Joshua Johnson Council has been doing for 36 years, meeting with artists, supporting artists, and promoting connections across the Baltimore region. Tonight, we have two incredible creative forces here in Baltimore, Thomas James and Murjoni Merriweather. They are affiliated with a few different spaces in the city, but they're also absolutely everywhere doing everything. And we're really happy to have them here with us. So normally I give a little more in-depth introduction, but I think in this moment here, I'm gonna let them speak for themselves. So please check us out for our next talk next month. Thank you for tuning in, and one moment.
My name is Thomas James. I am a curator and an arts facilitator. I run the visual arts department at Creative Alliance, which includes the exhibitions program, the artist in residence program, and the workshops program. So my overall curatorial practice, there's a huge emphasis on narrative. I want them to tell a story. I want the viewer to come into the show and essentially be transported somewhere else. Another aspect of my curatorial practice is aesthetics. I want people to come into the space and be dazzled one way or the other by the work that they're seeing and how it all flows together congruently. So the show that you're seeing right now is entitled Bright, and it is all about Black people being able to tell their own stories as opposed to people from other cultures being able to tell it for them. It really highlights a huge problem in the art world, which is a lack of representation. That means that when Black stories are being told, it's not being told by someone that is Black. So you're missing a lot of whatever story is being told, and or you're missing a lot of stories in general. Curatorially, my goals are to continue to make exhibitions that are attention grabbing and continue to work with artists that have something to say. I love being able to work with artists and afterwards they say, you know, I'm so glad that I was able to be in this show, or that you let me put this experimental piece in this show. Curatorially, I definitely want to continue to work in that way and work with as many artists as possible. I want each show to serve as somewhat of a meeting ground, because that's how a lot of relationships are built. It's built through being at the right place at the right time, and then people move on to bigger and better things. There have been shows that or artists that have worked together after they've been in a show that I put together, and being able to be a part of that and humbly be able to facilitate meetings and things like that is a huge part of my practice, because I feel like collaboration is something that really makes the art world special.
My name is Murjoni Merriweather, and I'm a sculptor based in Baltimore, Maryland. So my work is a reflection of the Black community, is how I like to see it. It's us shining a light on ourselves. I've been working in clay since 8th grade, and then I took it seriously junior, senior year of high school. Once I went to MICA, I decided to make more portrait work. I started to make work that started to reflect the people that I lived around. I wanted to see more of us in galleries and museums. I wanted us to start seeing ourselves in these spaces that we weren't supposed to be in. The biggest compliment that I've gotten to date, and I get this compliment a lot, is when people look at my work, they're like, hey, that looks like my cousin, that looks like my mom, that looks like somebody I know. That's a compliment to me, because I want my work to be relatable. I want it to be something that looks familiar. It looks like family, it looks like home. So the sculptures are elongated figures. I've always done elongated figures to show like proudness and standing tall and being monumental. My parents always told me, you're tall, stand tall. Like, you don't want to shrink yourself to anybody. But being a tall woman, I feel like I've had to make myself small, and I don't want to do that anymore. The media has so much power. They have the power to change people's perceptions about anything. They've taken Black people and put these negative stereotypes on us where people start to believe it when they're not true at all. And I think that one little piece of those stereotypes is grills. Grills are usually seen as something that is negative. Like, they're like, oh, if you wear grills, you're a drug dealer, you're intimidating, you're this, you're that. When in actuality, it's just cheap jewelry. And we don't realize that historically it's used for like adornments. To adorn yourself is seen as somebody who has power, someone who has wealth. I have my braided sculptures. My braided girls are celebrating hair, different hair types, different hairstyles, and they're actually all hand braided. The hand braiding aspect is process. So it reminds me, one, of when my mom used to do my hair all the time and how much time it took for me to get my hair done. You know, a lot of Black women, we got our hair done every Sunday or every Monday. To this day, a lot of people spend a lot of time on their hair and their appearance because it's like a form of self-love. And I want my work to show a lot of self-love and being okay with who we are naturally. To be named Baltimore's Best Sculptor of 2020 was one surprise thing. It like threw me off. But then it also kind of is a reminder that I am on the right track to doing what I want, what I need to be doing. The reason why I make my work the way that I make it is for it to live now and for it to live in the future. So I want to historically document our present culture. My work also acts as a mirror as well. I want it to be seen as a reflection of us. I want us to see us in the art. But I also want our grandkids to see us. I want our families in the future to see the truth of who we are and how proud we are to be us.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear us? Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I'm Thomas James,
Hi, I'm Rajani Merriweather.
and we are doing this live at Creative Alliance. As you saw in the video, and for those of you that don't know, Creative Alliance is a multidisciplinary arts nonprofit here in Baltimore. We are in Highlandtown, and if you guys it's one of the arts districts here. It's we're right across, literally like right across the street from Patterson Park. And as you saw in the video, like right now we're at the theater. We're in the theater. We have a black box theater. It houses about 250 people. And then we also have the exhibitions. We have 2 gallery spaces here. We have the artist in residency program. We have adult workshops, and then we also have an education workshop, or not an education program. Sorry. And so one of the really, I think, one of the biggest staples that Creative Alliance is known for is the residency program. And so Murjani is a resident here, and there are 7 other artists. So we have a cohort of 8 artists. And so I want to ask you, Murjani, can you tell us a little bit about the journey to becoming a Creative Alliance resident?
Yeah, so I graduated from MICA with my bachelor's in ceramics in 2018. And then between 2018 and last year, I was kind of making work in my basement or in my room or just in any space that I could. So the last apartment that I had, I was making work in my kitchen, which is like, I always tell people that because it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do. And one of my friends invited me to studio visits at Creative Alliance. And I was just like, you know what, why not? Just let me just go and see some artists and see some great work. And it was actually the 10 Minutes Tops talk. And I loved it. And then I met Thomas at the 10 Minutes Tops talk. And he told me to apply to Creative Alliance. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do this. So I applied. I actually wasn't really expecting to get it. I was like, I'm gonna just apply to see if I can. And I got in and I was just super happy about that. I ended up moving into Creative Alliance August of 2019. And it has been great ever since. So I live upstairs, so come visit me.
Wait, so wait, you were with all that clay, you were making work in your kitchen?
Yeah, so
how are you cooking food?
I had a lot of, okay, so the kitchen was huge itself.
Okay.
And I had split up, I had a table by the window. So I would make work by the window and, have the sun on my face and everything.
That sounds about right.
And I would work during the day. And then at night I would clean up and then start cooking as I cleaned up. Wow. So every day I would have to clean up my kitchen. So there's not any, clay in my food.
And also, let me tell it. So, Murjani, you said that you were surprised that you got in. Mm-hmm. We have a process, that everyone goes through, and folks that vote on who comes in. And Murjani got the most amount of votes.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I thought I told you.
No, you did not tell me that.
Yeah, you got the most votes. Yeah, so you were number 1 in your class.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you how was life before Creative Alliance for you as well? How did you get into curation and where did that come from for you?
Yeah, so life before Creative Alliance, it was, Creative Alliance itself is crazy, but life before Creative Alliance was also crazy. So I mean, I guess a lot of my, the way that that I've worked to get to this point has really been just accident, I guess. So when I was in college, my older sister, she found a camera in Georgetown and in DC, and then and she gave it to me. She was like, "Hey, you can use this, whatever." So I just started going crazy with that. I was doing magazines, I was doing events, I was doing different projects. And so I was just kind of really, really immersed in the creative scene. And then when I went to Chicago for a summer and spent time out there working, and my mentor, he was like, I think you should get involved with, just kind of with the business side of the art world, because I went to business school. So I kind of started trying to learn that portion of it. And then when I came back to school, I was working with a couple different art centers. And one of the places that I was at, they offered me a show because they knew I did photography. I was like, okay. And then, and so then I did a show with 2 of my friends, and so I curated that show. And the show, it was looking back at it, it's super amateur, but it was so much fun to do. And I was like, I think I can kind of do this curating and or curating, because it sort of mixes admin with creative. So that's how I got into actually curating, and then to get to Creative Alliance. When I graduated school in 2016, I was working independently. I was saying yes to everything. So like I was not only was I running around, I was in DC at the time. So I was running around the city, going to every opening, saying yes to every panel I could sit on, and and all that good stuff. I had a few exhibitions that I was doing independently that were in different parts of the city. So I was meeting a ton of people. I have a funny story that I would tell, and this is kind of like how a lot of things have worked for me. So one night I went to the DC Council for Arts and Humanities. I went to their award show, and after the show, they had a reception, and the reception, there's like a VIP reception and like a non-VIP reception. And I was like, man, I want to be in the VIP section.
I am
like,
VIP.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't, I'm like, I want to why is the VIP so special? So I went to security at the event, and I was like, yo, my grandma, she's up there, and I need to tell her something. So can y'all let me pass so I can go tell my grandma something? They're like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm in there. And so from there, I just started networking, and I met someone. Yeah, it was hilarious. But I met someone there and started working with them a little bit, and then that's how and that connection helped me to work with the Phillips collection in DC. So, but anyway, so I was working with the Phillips collection. I was doing independent stuff. I was working with Maryland Federation of Art in Annapolis. And again, I was just meeting people. So I knew folks from Creative Alliance. I knew some of the residents and my predecessor, Jeremy Stern. And so when the job opened up in 2018, I applied and got it.
So when you first started doing, you majored in business.
Yeah.
Was that the main thing you wanted to do? Did you ever think you would be an artist and then a curator? Well, I feel like curation is, in a sense, art.
Yeah, I mean,
well.
so funny story. So the summer I went to Chicago, and I was, I was kind of in the creative scene. The next summer, I was working for Enterprise. I was doing an internship with Enterprise
Really?
Rent-A-Car. Yeah,
Okay.
I was in it. Yeah, and I was every day I would wake up and I'll be damn, I don't know if I can, keep doing this. So I kind of learned quickly, I would rather, what I would rather be doing. So yeah, but actually, working with Enterprise, because you get to drive around, you get to meet so many people, and actually one of the people that I met who just put a bug in my ear, and I ended up getting an internship with an arts organization because of someone that I met.
Wow.
Yeah, just driving someone with Enterprise. So to answer your question, no, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what was available. I didn't really know what a curator was, or or just anything like that.
I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people, they grow up with it since they were young. And then some people, they kind of just fall into art. They never thought they would do anything art-wise, but they just kind of fall in love with it. I know for me, I kind of grew up, because my mom is an artist.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up with art, but they low-key didn't really want me to be an artist. And actually, the person who pushed me to be an artist is my brother. Shout out to Josh. I don't know if he's here. My brother actually pushed me to be an artist ever since I was in elementary school. Because I drew a lot. And I went to school in DC, and I started doing ceramics in 8th grade.
Right.
And I was just kind of falling in love with that, with clay. And I wanted to go to school for art. And my parents were like, okay, if you go to school for art, you know how to make some money with it.
Wait, in 8th grade, because what high school did you go to?
I went to field school in DC.
Which is that an art school?
No, not really. No.
But they have an arts program.
They have art classes. So they have the multimedia classes, the computer classes, photography, ceramics, regular art, and then they had music.
Were you taking those classes?
Yeah, so I took the art class, I took the photography class, I took the compuper art class.
You took as many as you could.
Yeah. And then the last one I took was ceramics. After that, no more. They were like, oh, do you want to try some? I was like, no, I'm okay. Thank you though. I'm good. I'm good right here.
So you really enjoyed the ceramics.
Yeah, ceramics was my thing. And it's funny because when I was in 8th grade, our teacher started, I feel like all the teachers start you off on the wheel. And I hated the wheel. I don't know what it is about the wheel, but I'm just not patient for the wheel.
The wheel, that's like when you like, I've seen
where
videos,
you're like, and
you like hold it and you
like,
make like pots and
cool.
exactly.
Okay, cool. So I was telling my teacher, I was like, look, Natalia, okay, because I love Natalia. I was like, look, Natalia, I'm not trying to do like the wheel throwing anymore. Like, can I do something else? And she was like, okay, I'll teach you how to hand build with cups, like how to make cups hand building. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. So she taught me, and I was the only one at the table hand building, and she taught me how to do it.
The wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't like the wheel.
You dared to be different. I'm not mad at you.
And she taught me how to do it, and I just like, ever since then, I've just been hand building. Right. I took the wheel again one time for a class because I had to at Micah.
Like
I was not happy. I'm like, look, I'm gonna make these plates because it's my assignment, but after that, I'm not doing it anymore.
Okay, so let me ask you. So you said your mom is an artist. So you saw that growing up. Did that give you a certain level of confidence or just like, because again, like, so knowing in middle school, like, hey, I like art, I want to do art. I go into high school, I want to do art. Just kind of like having that as a mind state. Like someone like me, I had that never crossed my mind. So like, how did you kind of get to that point? So before middle school, when you were like, I can kind of do this.
Like, how did I get to the point of me wanting to be an artist?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, so actually I've been drawing since I was in like 2nd grade.
Okay.
And my parents would get me a whole bunch of like how to draw books because they thought it was like a hobby, and I was like, no, this is for real. And they would give me like little painting kits that parents give their kids, and I would just be using them like crazy. And then it's just that's the only thing I liked. I think I thought about being a doctor when I was a kid because my grandmother was a nurse, and I was just like, that sounds cool. And my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Because I watched a lot of those doctor documentaries on TV, and I was just like, actually, I like to draw more. I love drawing. Like I wasn't that great at it when I was younger, but I just love to draw. And then once I went to, that's like all I did all the time. Even in elementary school, people knew me as like the girl that drew. Like there was a point in 6th grade that I made like this whole anime series with 2 of my best friends.
Oh wow!
People don't really know that.
Okay.
I forgot what it was called. Yeah. I have the books for it still. Like we made a whole, like we had the characters, we had the setting, like we had all of that. It was 6th grade. It was so much fun. And obviously, it was not an anime series now. It didn't,
it didn't pan out.
It did not pan out. But I just fell in love with clay. I fell in love with how it felt. Like that's like definitely one of my favorite things about clay is just how it feels and how like it coming from the earth. But what are your favorite things as a curator?
Favorite things as in like what I like to do in my shows, like favorite aspects.
What's your favorite part about curating? Like what's the thing that makes you like, oh, I'm so excited? Like
I mean, I think really just the process. So, when I'm creating the show, it's sometimes the chicken or the egg come first. Sometimes it's an idea in my brain, or sometimes it's like a specific artist that I want to work with. But either way, so really the process of bringing my thoughts and ideas to artists, or maybe just one artist or whatever that I want to do a show with. So for example, the show that I'm putting up right now, Organic Destruction. So like that show.
What is the show?
So
what's the show?
The show is Organic Destruction. And it's here at Creative Alliance. It opens next week. Okay. Tell you guys more about that later. But like for that, I'll have some sort of idea in my head, and sometimes I'll know what it is. Sometimes I have to sift through and figure out what exactly I have in my mind. But then once I, so like that process itself is interesting because there's always like a spark. It's like even for this show, I had an idea in my mind. I'm like, I want to do something kind of architectural, something with natural materials. And then I went to a show and saw this one piece that an artist had of this clump of dirt. And I was like, I got it. Like, I know what I want to do. So like that sort of thought process, that spark. And then from there, I can just run wild. So I can say, I'm like, okay, whose work would relate to this person, and I get to be my own R&D department. So I get to look up these artists, or if it's someone that I know or whatever, I could put the pieces together. Then I get to reach out to them. We can do a studio visit, or something they've been virtual, because because of COVID.
Well, I was gonna actually ask you what like because I feel like a lot of people, well, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't speak for everybody, but I feel like a lot of people don't know what really goes into curating and how much work it is. I was gonna ask you what your process was from start to finish.
Yeah.
So people know.
Yeah,
you know
and the process is the most fun. So like after you, at least for me, after I do the studio visits, you know, I can sit back, I can digest what I've seen, and I can start picking pieces like, okay, this piece would be great, that piece would be great, or maybe it's something where an artist is like, okay, you know what, I don't have like the piece that you want is great, but I can make something else. I'm working on something else. And so I think like probably every show that I've ever done, I've at least a few pieces are like the first time an artist is displaying the pieces in any show, because like I'm big on experimenting.
Yeah. You like the special pieces.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, give me that. Like,
yeah.
I want that piece. And you know, and like in the last show that we had here, it was called Bright. An artist, Jabari Jefferson, he had never done any sculptural work before, and he was like, man, you know, I'm working on this, and I was like, I was looking at the thing he sent me. I'm like, all right, bro, just, you know, send it a little bit late, you know, when it's more in process, or, you know, as it's closer to the end. And he was like, yo, I'm like, this is fire, bring it today. So, you know, and then, you know, bringing it into the space, whatever space it is, whether it's Creative Alliance or somewhere else, and just like doing the exhibition design is always fun because it's like a puzzle. And then, you know, having it, installing it, and then my installs are always a lot of fun if I'm doing it myself, because I have my assistants that we get along very well. So like, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then when the show's up, I'm like, there we go. And so it goes from just an idea to now it's physically here. So that's my favorite part. So
do you? So everything's your favorite part?
No, I mean, like, well, okay, but there's more than just that to curate. Like to curate, like sometimes it's like an artist talk, or it's the opening, or it's the this, the that. Like I really enjoy the process of seeing something that literally is just in my mind, to now I can stand in a space and I'm surrounded by an idea.
So you feel like the ending is more rewarding for you because of the process, because of your love for the process?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Because, you know, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of, you know, I get to do deep dives into artists' portfolios, and, you know, and like I get to go to their house or their studio or wherever.
Obviously.
Yeah, like of just like if they're working on something, and then we might just kick it, you know, and just talk about whatever. And like I always, any visit, anything I do, I always leave feeling better than I did when I walked in there. So like every single part is rewarding, and then being able to take that and put it here.
And what I think is great about you is that I feel like you build relationships with all the artists you work with. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, Thomas, that's the man, that's the homie. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, you build relationships with these people instead of just being like, oh, let me get these 2 pieces and you're like out.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that, because a lot of curators are like that, where they're just kind of like, okay, I just want these 2. And it's like, you're not even understanding what my work is about, why I do it. You like to take time to sit with us and be like, okay, why do you do this? You ask the questions.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like one of the most important parts of my practice, I feel like, is artist development. So, you know, so like if I can have a conversation and in some way be a vessel for an artist understanding their work, like that's great. Or if, you know, I'm involved in a lot of different organizations and things like that. So if I get to know these artists, I get to understand you all better, how you work, yada yada. You know, there's so much, especially the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland, there's like over 80,000 jobs in art. There's you know, so many projects and grants and this and that, and it's like I have such a pool that I can pull from to like, oh, I can suggest Murjani for this, or I can suggest you know, this person for that. And I love being able to do that, because, you know, we all kind of eat.
People. Yeah, help everybody out instead of, you know.
And people do the same for me in return. You know, it's like it's very cyclical. Yeah. In that way.
That's awesome.
But I wanna, since we're sitting here in Creative Alliance, and you've been working on some series, a new series since you've been here at Creative Alliance. So what we have this back here. Can you talk to? So do you want to grab it?
Yeah. So I've been working on a couple different series at Creative Alliance.
Mhm.
I'll just bring her up.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need
So,
to show the camera.
This is part of one of my series. This is the braided series. This is Aurora, is her name. And the pieces just kind of, I know you guys saw the video, but the pieces just kind of talk about a celebration of Black hair. And I tried to emphasize it by covering the whole head in braided hair. The braids are actually hand braided themselves, or myself. Some of them are dyed. Her hair is actually dyed. And then I style them myself. So
And this is life size. Like this is like the same size as our head.
yeah, that's my girl. A lot of the times I'll name my sculptures after people, or I'll ask people to name them. Or sometimes I'll name the piece based off of what they look like. So Aurora, sun,
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
And I think a lot of the pieces are just mirrors, I'm sorry. A lot of the pieces are just mirrors, and they're supposed to celebrate us for how we are and how we naturally come, and for us to be confident and love ourselves naturally. This is Aurora.
So okay, well I'll
Put her back.
Well, I was gonna.
So that's a continuing series that I'm working on. I'm also working on the girl series that I also talked about in the video. And that kind of talks about how society kind of deems negative stereotypes onto us to make us feel bad about ourselves. And one of those things, I kind of took one little thing, which was grills. And I think that girls have negative stereotypes that are attached to them. Like if you wear grills, you're seen as somebody who is like aggressive or scary, yada, yada, yada. When that's in actuality, they're just teeth jewelry. So I decided to have a whole bunch of people in grills, but they're happy and they're confident in who they are and how they like decide to present themselves. Another series I'm working on is the glitter series. With that, I'm not gonna talk too much about that because I'm still working those out.
Well, that was actually going to be one of my questions was what are some things that you are working on, whether that's like ideas that you're working through, because again we have anyone who is paying attention, who's watching this, they might have they might either have a question or you could ask a question and then they could respond back, like so. What I'm saying is if you're workshopping any ideas or if if you're working on anything, like can you tell us about that?
Okay, so I am working on a series that it's a glitter series, but I'm making them in the form of, I guess, celebrating them in the form of stars. I'm doing research on stars right now, just because I just think they're interesting.
Stars like lately, stars like in the sky.
Okay. I've been having a thing with nature and reconnecting myself back to nature. And just grounding myself a little more and getting more in touch with my spirit in order to love myself more. So I thought about the idea of self-love, and all my sculptures are about self-love. But then I wanted to think deeper into how can we reach self-love? Yes, we can see it out in the open, but how do we also like find ways to find a deeper way to love ourselves? It's not just like on the surface. Yeah, I love myself, but do you really love yourself?
So what does that that's a theme that you play with a lot.
Yeah.
What exactly does that have you been able to find out, like figure out what that looks like?
That's what a lot of my research is about right now. So one of the things that I kind of thought about was reconnecting myself with earth. So reconnecting myself with the things around me and in the now. Right. So I'm researching skies, like sun gazing, stargazing, what that means and how that connects to your spirit a little more. And then I'm researching more about like getting more in touch with the ground, because the clay comes from the ground. And I think that it's a blessing that I'm able to make something like this from what the earth gave me. I know that sounds super spiritual, but I just try to be grateful for those little things that we get in order to, I don't know, open myself up more spiritually.
I mean, I think that's an important idea, and that's an important concept, because there is such a freedom in I mean, essentially, like what you're talking a lot about is healing. So there is a very freeing quality when it comes to healing. A lot of that, can come in the form of it can come in the form of relaxation. It can come in the form of your appearance. And there's a lot of growth that can happen once you feel healed, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that that's really important for artists, being able to being able to identify things like that, being able to heal, being able to relax, being able to sit back, and because that is really one of the ways that and we're talking about artist development. That's one of the ways that an artist has the ability to understand what they're doing. Being able to sit back and be like, okay, now that I've done all these commissions, now that I've done this show, now that I've done this, now that I've done that, really, really doing the work on yourself to figure out what exactly you're doing, I think is really powerful. So in a way, in just thinking about the braided sculptures, because right now I'm just spitballing, but just thinking about the braided sculptures, and you said that is that's really the process of that is really important. I think that your overall philosophy when it comes to self-love in the form of healing, I think the process is very important.
Absolutely.
In that as well.
And it's also just opening yourself up to all possibilities, and it's opening yourself up to be vulnerable, which is something I've always had an issue with. I think vulnerability is something that a lot of people have issues with because we don't want to be seen as weak. When I feel like when you're vulnerable, you're strong because you're actually getting in touch with what actually makes you feel certain ways and really asking yourself certain questions. And I think when it comes to my artwork, I'm very attached to my artwork, but I'm like, why am I so attached to my pieces? Why do I love my pieces so much? Like, because I see them more as people and personalities rather than objects or things. That's why when I address my pieces, I'm like, she, they, her, whoever. Right. You know what I'm saying? I like to address them as actual people because I always want my pieces to be seen as having a personality, having their own, being confident in themselves. And obviously that goes into self-love, is be standing tall and being confident in yourself. But I also want to give them that respect as well because I feel like they have this kind of energy with them.
Just deep.
You got to give them the respect. You know what I'm saying?
No,
if they're speaking to other people, because a lot of people feel like that my sculptures speak to them. I do want to still give them that respect that they are, a personality.
So speaking of people, you are part of a 8-artist cohort here at Creative Alliance.
Yes, I am.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's like to live here at Creative Alliance and live amongst a community of artists?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's cool that I get to live in my studio. That's not my kitchen or basement or my bedroom. You know what I mean? I think it's nice to just live in my studio instead of my studio being anywhere it can be at the moment. I'm grateful to have the space to actually think things out and to put things on the wall if I need to, and to back up and see the sculpture and to be able to have studio visits. I think being around other artists helps out a lot too, because we give critiques, we help each other out, and it's just nice to just be around people who also think like you. You know what I mean? How do you feel about Creative Alliance? Like, because I know you obviously don't live here with us.
I do not live here. Some people do think that I live here though.
That would have been cool though.
Well, some people think I live here for 2 reasons. One was because before the pandemic, I would literally be here day and night, and also because some people think that I'm a resident, but I'm not. I guess I'm the
that would be interesting if you guys had a curator as a resident though.
Well, let me say this. So the residency application, it just closed.
Yeah.
Okay, the residency application did close, but curators can apply. I think a curator did apply. So curators can apply. But yeah, so I think the best part about the residency program is just being able to be in a community of artists that are willing and able to collaborate. So like, for example, this light right here that's like shine on us. That's actually from Kay Ito.
Shout out to Kay, thanks.
He's a resident upstairs. But yeah, just being able in my position being the director of the visual arts program, and when I was here more, just like on the day-to-day basis of being here at Creative Alliance, at any point in time, I could walk upstairs and just end up just sitting in someone's studio doing a spontaneous critique or someone making me bread or tea, and we just sit down and talk, and just being there, it's being able to build that rapport is a big part of the program, and it makes my job so much fun coming to work. I've done collaborative projects with residents. We've things like this we have the ability to do because we're in constant communication, and all of us are, and so because of that we are close in a cohort, I guess, sort of way.
I also do want to talk about your outfit, because that's in collaboration with an artist as well.
That is a collaboration.
You have to show them your outfit.
Okay. All right. So the outfit. All right, hold on. Let me
You
see.
gotta stand up. Let me back.
All right. So I'm also the exhibitions committee co-chair at UB Blade Cultural Center. And we did a collaboration with Vans. They have an initiative called Foot the Bill, which is a collaboration between minority-owned and Black-owned businesses during COVID. And so what we did for our collaboration, I just had to take my shoe off. So we did a collab shoe. Okay, well,
Do I have to?
now the light is kind of washing it out.
Should I stand by? Okay, I'll stand by.
You wanna?
There
Is
you
it?
go.
There we go. It looks a little bit better. So we did a collaborative shoe and let's see, t-shirt. Let me get it. With Megan Lewis, who's an artist here in Baltimore, and actually this piece was on display at Creative Alliance for our Bright exhibition. And but the initiative with Vans is that all of the profits go to the businesses. So that was really cool. It was really cool to collab with Megan on that. And shout out to my partner and Charles, who's also a resident here. They conspired and they actually bought me this piece for my birthday.
Oh,
yeah. So that's really nice.
That's so sweet.
Thank you, Giselle.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I just
But yeah, so
yeah. So what do you have coming up? Because I know that's one big thing that happened, and then you have another show coming up.
yeah. So we have so coming up, the show is Organic Destruction. It is almost all 100% 3D sculptural work, almost all of it, which is the most I've ever had in one show.
It looks really good.
Thank you. The idea,
I got so excited.
the idea, like the ideas that were rolling around in my mind when creating the show, essentially sort of boiled down to what is, well, one, it's all about human intervention in the environments that we currently live in, and then so because of that, asking the question, what is human nature versus human interest? So there's a lot of, the pieces that are in the show touch on topics such as animal rights, repurposed materials, what waste is, currency and the cost of labor, excuse me, spirituality and religion throughout time, and essentially how human politics sort of inform every facet of our life. So it's a really, really cool show. We're gonna have some sneak peeks coming up really soon, and and I'm really excited.
I already had
about
my sneak peek.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a dope show. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
That's awesome.
We had a couple of questions that came up from the chat, if I may read off a couple. So one of them is, and it's kind of going to take us back a little bit, and I'm Antoinette, by the way. Sorry, Chair Joshua Johnson Council. Also, if I can say board member at Creative Alliance, just got to put that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it says, this says, say more about the braiding and how you make those sculptures. Do you have a woman in mind when you design or create?
So when I make the sculptures, sometimes I do have a woman in mind, but a lot of the braided girls I make from my head. So they end up looking similar to myself. Because I feel like in artwork, we make ourselves because we see ourselves the most. But the process of actually making the sculpture is I make a clay base, which is like a regular clay head. And then I have to hollow that out, let that dry a little bit, hollow that out, which takes forever. And then piece the piece back together, let that dry, and then let it fire in a bisque fire. some of my pieces, not the braided ones, but some of my pieces actually end up going through up to 3 firings, because some of the grill sculptures go through a specialty firing called the luster firing. And that is a 3rd firing, which takes probably like maybe like a week to do, maybe. And then going back to the braided girls, I hand braid the braids, and then I dye them with fabric dye and alcohol. And, you know, that also takes a while because I have to do layers of the dye. And then I adhere them to the sculpture and then style them. And the styles sometimes come from people that I know, people that I've seen in the street. Yeah, pictures that I've seen. But that's for all of my sculptures too. They're really inspired by all Black people and how we look naturally, like how we just like to present ourselves and how we feel confident in ourselves.
Okay, very good. I skipped the one. Denisha says, we love you, Murjoni.
Oh, hi, Blue. That's I made a piece with by her too.
Okay, very good. And said another one is, Murjoni, do you use a mold for your heads?
No, I don't. I actually just sculpt it with my hands on an armature. He's seen the process.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just have this pole that's literally just straight, and I build solid around the pole and sculpt the. I do additive sculpture, so I just add on top of the clay and sculpt out the faces.
Wow. I mean, just okay. I just need to pause. Take a pause. That's extremely impressive for that.
Yes.
Like no mold, no like. That's incredible. Okay.
So fun.
That's amazing. The other one is the form ceramic, and I guess they're talking about Aurora back there.
Yes, the form of her. All of my pieces have the basis of ceramic. They're all made with clay. The surfaces may be a little different, but the basis of them will always be clay because I love clay.
Okay, another comment is, as someone who obsessed with how to encourage marginalized young people to pursue careers in the arts, this program is spot on. Thank you, Murjoni and Thomas. This came from Susan Batter. Thank you, Susan. Also, Thomas, who are your curatorial influences? And Murjoni, what artists inspire you?
Oh, my curatorial. I think top of my head, one of my largest, and probably my first real curatorial influence is one of my mentors. Her name is Dagmar Painter. She is, she's an art historian, and she knows everything there is to know about Middle Eastern art. And so really and she was, I was able to do an exhibition with her when I was working independently in DC, and just being around her, it taught me so much. It taught me about just the thoroughness of an exhibition. You know, she how to research. She has been such an influence on me, and she still is. And I think that's probably my biggest influence, just as far as working with, with the curator. And then another one would be Klaus Altman, who is I think at one point he might still be, but he was the chief curator at the Phillips Collection, and just sort of seeing the work that he did, and like I studied some of his curriculum that he created. And you know, I had never, he had one show that I saw that he worked on for so long, and it was called Nordic Expressions, and it was it's sort of like the Organic Destruction show. There was such a variety of pieces and you know, different ideas and concepts that were happening all in one space. That you know, that was, I think it's like, especially for this, I'll probably channeling some of that.
I think for me, when I was in high school, I actually got a lot of inspiration from Alberto Giacometti. I know I'm like saying his name, but I used to also make elongated figures that were similar to his, and that kind of got me into making figures that looked more like us, like Black people, in our body types. And then I ended up getting into what we looked like in our facial features. So everything really started from him. And then my inspiration constantly now comes from other Black people that I meet and see and are in conversation with. I think that is just like such an inspiration to just see our people happy and being themselves, and being confident in themselves. And yeah.
Okay, very good. There's another one. Are there other curators at Creative Alliance?
Yeah, so Kei Ito, his wife is a curator, Liz Faust. She runs Catalyst Contemporary, which is a wonderful gallery in Mount Vernon. It's right under Grimaldi's. So yeah.
Okay. Now Megan Lewis waves at you, so she is watching. And then Yvonne says, wow, beautiful, freely formed faces. So I do have a question, and that is about Thomas, you being curator and Majani artist in an organization like Creative Alliance, and us live streaming you through the Baltimore Museum of Art and the Joshua Johnson Council. Find it's a very interesting dynamic, right? There's an organization that is does entertainment, does a wonderful programming around art and artistry and spotlighting artists. And artists of color have been, since you've been there, Thomas, I've seen that become a whole new way of presenting artists of color at the Creative Alliance. And part of what Joshua Johnson's mission is to bridge this gap between the art community as well as administration, where artists and people of color can start to expand or really get into more of the curatorial practices. So how do you see this from being the resident director or the artistic director here and being an artist in a residency program, and now working to see how does it help pivot your career, or is it helping to kind of trajectorize, if that's a word I could make up, from where you are to growing into this level of affiliation that we have started here? This is our first, right? We've never had a program through another organization. And so we've got you as a curator working with us, and here we are engaged and affiliate with the museum. How do you see this building for where you are now and where you'd like to see your career as a curator and your career as an artist? And is my question, I know it's a lot of words.
Yeah, and I'm gonna respond, and then you can tell me if
okay.
it's gonna answer. So I think one of the biggest things that we're doing here, especially in my practice of curator here at Creative Alliance, is definitely intentional to bring in this many Black artists and other artists of color, whether it's exhibitions or whether it is the residency program. I would say with the residency program, I'm not the only person that chooses who gets into the residency program. So that's more of a group decision. But as far as the exhibitions go, I think being intentional with the shows that we do and who shows in the exhibitions and things like that, I'm more so, I feel like I'm building a new expectation. Like, I'll give you an example. We did a podcast, myself and another resident, Jason, and a UMB student, Jasmine Braswell, and Jason Austin. Sorry, I was forgetting his last name. We did a podcast, and she asked us like if we felt like, essentially, if like Creative Alliance was like the pinnacle for white-led organizations, like presenting Black artists and other artists of color and things like that, and making like a very comfortable space, and things like that. And I said no, because because there's no there as of right now. I mean, I haven't seen any. There's no white-led space that's extremely comfortable for any Black person or other people of color, because a lot of these organizations, just like you said, Antoinette, so Creative Alliance has been around for 25 plus years, and I've been here for almost 3 years, and I'm the first Black curator here, as well as just the shows that I do. You're not the only person. Everyone, even the staff here, mentions the amount of Black artists and artists of color that are here in the space. So, with that being said, if you have a 25-year-old organization, and for the last 2 years, really only the last year and some change, because the first shows that I was involved in, they were from the previous predecessor, or my predecessor, the previous curator. So really the shows that are of my design have really only kicked off. Really, it was the summer of 2019 when I did the show with Chris Batten. So you think about that. So we think about 2 years of very intentional Black and other people of color, programming that is intentional to make those artists comfortable, bring them to the space. And we haven't always done the best job, probably me included. We talk about whiteness practices and things like that. And, Black people and other people of color can unfortunately, fall into those same practices. So I might be saying too much, but as far as like words, but yeah. So saying that, I think what I'm trying to do now is, and what I think JJC is doing, is making it an expectation that Black people and other people of color are included when it comes to programming, when it comes to exhibitions, when it comes to hiring, hiring full-time staff, paying people equitably. We're trying to build these expectations so that it's not a huge deal, quote unquote, when we're showing Black artists, because that should already be in the programming when it comes, just things like that. So I think for me, it's really about setting a new standard and setting a new expectation that hopefully sustains, and that's in just organizations across the board.
I think we also need more people like you who are bringing people of color into these spaces as well. I feel like you brought a lot of different people of color into different galleries, into different shows, into different opportunities, which I'm grateful for. Which matters a lot. And I feel like people don't think it matters, it just kind of happens. But we have to have curators who are willing to stick up for us, who are willing to be like, no, we need more Black people, we need more Black, people who work here, we need more Black artists. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, and again, it's just kind of speak on that again. A new expectation should be, okay, because again, I'm not the only person that's like me. There's plenty of people that know a lot of artists that have the talent to put shows together and things like that. So it's really about being intentional. Like, okay, let's find someone like that, like to hire them, or to bring them in as a resident, like that sort of thing. It should just be it's a new expectation. And again, I work for Creative Alliance. I work for the organization. And I'm not afraid to speak about our shortcomings, because we speak about it as a staff, and we're very comfortable doing that. I think other organizations should do that, and then work on corrective actions as well. And again, it's just about a new expectation, because places are going to continue to get called out. Yeah. I know people that won't work with certain organizations because they're like, no, like you don't make Black people feel comfortable here. I don't feel valued. I spoke about that. I did a talk at UB Blake, and I spoke about that. I've had artists that, like, I've asked artists to do shows here at Creative Alliance, and they're like, no, like I don't want to work there, because I don't want to do a show there, because I feel like my work it wouldn't be appreciated, or they might just be using me for optics and things like that. And again, and it's these things are just going to happen. Like there's no going back from the progress that we've already made. That answer your question? I know that was a lot.
Yes, I do. I thank you so much. That is exactly where I was going. Thank you for that. That's where I was going, because that's what we want to see. And I know I'm struggling to get it out, but that's where I was going. Just to know that this is a place where it starts. This is how it needs to happen. I mean, you are intentional about what you do and how you present, how you show up, and who you bring with you. And because of that, that becomes a model for what happens thereafter. So you took on a role your predecessor left, you expanded that to be more inclusive. You can only continue that wherever you go. And so this affiliation and connection we've made is for that very reason. is to make sure the affiliation and connection that we make across community is solidified. It's not a fad, it's not a trend, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of being. And we want to make sure that continues in any organization, especially one that is funded, highly visible, and can actually communicate a message to artists and administrators across the globe. And this is how we do this when we're talking on the internet, right? We're streaming live because anybody who's out there listening knows that the model between an organization that's 36 years old, like Joshua Johnson Council, affiliated with the BMA, can connect with the Creative Alliance, who has a young Black curator and connections with artists within a space, and bring them all forward and bring us together, and we work together to move our mission, our vision, our work forward. And I appreciate you guys for that. I really, really do. I know there's a couple other questions in the chat, but I'm going to turn that over to Jean because I have to dip a bit, but I'm so happy that you guys were here and this will continue. Jean, if you could take the rest, I gotta take
Thank you. Thank you.
Well said. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Antoinette and Thomas and Murjoni. And we are watching the time. It is 7:34, and so it's time for us to wrap up. I just want to tell you a couple of our comments that people have made, because what you said really resonates with us, with our mission, with me personally, and with so many of our members who are lovers of art, makers of art. Some of them are curators of art. Some of them have children who want to be artists. So one of the questions that came up is what advice you have for emerging and aspiring and young artists, and or maybe they're like you, Thomas, and they don't even know they want to be an artist yet. It hasn't happened yet. But when it does happen, how do I start? Where do I start? Who do I know? What do I do? So if you could each, take that from your perspective, and then we'll wrap up. Thank you.
Of course. I think for me, keep yourself open to all the opportunities and all possibilities. Like Thomas didn't know he wanted to be an artist, but here he is, an artist, a great artist. And if you know that you want to be an artist, I say just keep pushing and do what you want to do. Don't ever do what somebody else wants you to do because they think they know what's best for you. Always do what you feel like is close to home and close to heart.
I can totally relate with what you were saying about, your parents want you to be a doctor. They want you to eat.
They want me to be, but the thing is, like, they're like my biggest supporters now. You know what I mean? So I think for parents, it's like they want you to be able to not have to struggle, and I totally understand that. But at the same time, I feel like the money's gonna come regardless, as long as you're doing something that you love to do. And being honest in that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, now what you said is completely right. And I think so. So one, to piggyback off of what you said, when you dedicate your time and you really focus and do your research and stuff like that, you'll get better at what you do and things will begin to come. But my biggest point of advice to anyone who's interested in this line of work is really start by putting yourself in places with people like you. So, before I had any connections to anyone, whether that's Baltimore, DC, anyone, I was running around DC, going to any gallery opening I could, going to any talk that I could, going to just any event that I could, because when you're there, you're networking across, so you're meeting people that or even networking up, like you're meeting people that are interested in what you do, or interested in the same thing that you're interested in, and it's a chance to learn. Before I knew what the Arts Council was, I had to be somewhere and meet someone that's like, oh yeah, I'm on the Arts Council, or I run First Fridays, or I run this gallery. And I'll have no idea what that looks like if I didn't put myself in those places. So that's my biggest thing of advice, is just physically put yourself around people that you're interested in learning about what they do.
I think also another big thing for me is being patient and kind to yourself. Definitely don't get frustrated with yourself if things don't happen right then and there.
Yeah.
A lot of things do take time. Like we've been both been doing this for years, and it took us a while to get to where we are. And I'm sure we both have like so much more growth to do. So definitely be kind to yourself and be patient.
It's a blessing to have both of you here tonight. And I just want to read one more comment, which comes from George Sissel. He says, "Thank you for defining diversity in arts organizations, needing to go beyond exhibits and programming to address staff and board diversity." And it's really important that we share that and we get that out, and that we all do our part, you know. And thank you both on behalf of all of us at the Joshua Johnson Council for being so open and fun, and you know, just someone commented, just to see the smiles on your face, just you radiate your love for what you do, and we appreciate you sharing that with us. For everybody who's yes, that's right. And for everybody who's tuned in with us, please join me in thanking Murjoni and Thomas and the Creative Alliance. I know you got somebody behind the scenes pushing buttons and doing tech just like we do. This is a double live stream to Creative Alliance's audience as well as to ours and the BMA. So thank you all. Your passion is inspiring, Yvonne says. And thank you both for what you're doing to advance the narrative about Black and Brown people and how we express ourselves and how and Black joy and the Black joy. That's beautiful. This was a very inspiring conversation. I just want to remind everybody to please come back next month. We meet on the second Thursday of every month. Erin Maybin will be with us next month. And all of these conversations are archived on the Baltimore Museum of Art's YouTube page. So tell a friend, they can come back in a couple of days and it'll be there. You can watch it. You want to watch it again because it was so good. I'm gonna watch it again. You can watch it again too. And Thomas and Murjoni, thank you. Dave, is there anything else to take us out? Thank you.
We've been so
No more words.
so excited to do this, and we had I think I speak for both of us. I said we had so much fun.
It was I had a lot of fun.
Seriously, like thank you guys. This is wonderful.
We're so grateful. We're so and thank you. We had fun as well. So BMA audience, thank you for your questions. Thank you for coming, members. We will see you next month. Please stay in touch. We'll see you also at the those of you who can send your ideas for activities to Yvonne and to Dave. We're going to sign off now. And again, thank you all for coming. Good night.
Peace.
I don't know what to. I think we just.
Gene, can you end?